The Building Brands podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join me, Robert Royer, president of Building Brands Marketing, and an entrepreneur who has successfully scaled multiple brands as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with a creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. Welcome to the Legal Leaders series of the Building Brands Podcast. I'm excited today to welcome Boyd Black, shareholder and patent attorney with Kinney Lange. Welcome, Boyd.
Thank you.
Well, Boyd, why don't you just kick us off? Tell us a little bit about Kinney Lange and what the firm does.
Yeah, so Kinney Lange, we are a intellectual property boutique law firm. We primarily provide services to our clients in patent law, trademark, and copyright. I would say most of the work we do is in the area of patent prosecution, but then also other support related services in the area of patent and intellectual property.
Yeah, Boyd, I know that Kinney Lange is known well in the industry for its training and development of newer attorneys in the space. And I'm curious, how has this emphasis on internal development helped shape the firm's brand and reputation in the market?
It's by training, by focusing on hiring practices, mostly on new attorneys that we then train within the firm. It helps us to produce a product that's more consistent from attorney to attorney. So for many of our clients, we're able to basically use all of our attorneys or any of our attorneys to serve any one client, and though that group of attorneys is able to produce a product that's more or less kind of consistent from attorney to attorney. So we, when you hire lateral attorneys, they often come with their own set of training and skills that they've developed over the years, and often those skills are great, but sometimes there's like practices they may have that would conflict with our style, and then you have to work with them to try to change that style. But by hiring mostly new attorneys, we keep that style. It's easier to mold a new attorney and say this is the style we'd like to see, and yeah.
Well, Boyd, let's dig a little bit deeper there. So I when you say style, I like that to competitive advantage, uniqueness, our key differentiator. So let's drill a little bit deeper. I'm a South Texas guy. I got to use the oil field, metaphor. What would you say is the competitive advantage of Kinney Lange in regards to that style of what you're looking for in a younger attorney?
Style. So a lot of our work is writing. We do a lot of prep and pros, so we're writing patent applications and office actions that are office action responses, and in that writing, there's a lot of rules to consider when you're writing a patent application, and so the quality of the writing is really important when you're writing a patent application, and so that's I'd say the advantage that we have is we give great training to all of our attorneys, so that way the product that's being written and delivered is of high quality and will meet the rules and requirements that the patent office has for a patent application. So I would say that's our biggest advantage, is that we produce very high quality patent applications. Our location in the Midwest also gives us a competitive advantage with regards to price in comparison to law firms that are on the coast. So
that makes sense.
There's very high quality patent applications, office action responses, opinion work, and we can do that at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, and sometimes a very narrow niche itself can be a competitive advantage because you're doing the same types of tasks day in and day out rather than, you know, going from one side of law all the way to another side with, say, a general counsel or somebody like that. I am curious. I know the firm works on patent law, both pretty much across the country and internationally for that matter, I believe. What strategies have been the most effective for acquiring new clients in such a specialized space with such a large geographic radius of prospects?
Um, yeah, so the clients that we're generally looking for are, I mean, we're looking for clients of any size, but I guess the preferred clients are medium-sized companies to large-sized companies, companies that are, you know, regularly filing patent applications every year. And usually those companies have someone working in-house that's managing the patent portfolio. And so being able to make contacts with in-house counsel at these companies is is where most of our marketing strategy lies. So reaching out to in-house attorneys at these companies. Some companies uh, some companies don't have in-house attorneys working on their patent portfolio. Um, they might, for example, we have one client who's a very large company, and for a long time they didn't really consider patents as part of their business strategy. And then at some point they decided, we really want to incorporate that into our business plan. So they had their regular corporate counsel inside their company who then reached out to different law firms and was trying to find a patent firm that could help them begin a patent portfolio. And so that's a company that we currently work with, and now we act as we help provide them that support, kind of function as in-house counsel for them, while also providing the outside counsel services of preparing that work. So most of the people we're marketing to are in-house patent attorneys, and then in other situations maybe just regular in-house counsel. And
Mm-hmm.
we look for events where we can mingle with those people, and develop relationships with them. And as we build confidence and trust with them, they'll start to share work with us and allow us to work on their cases.
Yeah, well, this is different from a lot of law firms where it's strictly B2B outreach, it sounds like. This is a technique that is commonly practiced in B2B called account-based marketing. Rather than, let's say a traditional PI firm that might put up a billboard or a TV commercial with the kind of shotgun approach, this is a very, very calculated and defined approach, or hyper-targeted approach is probably a better way to put it, of these exact contacts that fit these qualifying factors such as in-house counsel. I'm curious, what are some of the largest challenges that you face in acquiring those relationships and building those relationships with those types of prospects?
There's a lot of competition to, um, if you're working in-house at a large tech company, you're a darling in the legal market with patent firms. Everyone wants to talk to you, everyone wants to meet you. So it's so sometimes you'll go to events with in-house patent attorneys where they might not be looking for a new outside counsel to work with. So there are some events that we found where they focus on, they invite people who are looking for outside counsel, and so at least you're working with a receptive audience. And then the other challenge is just figuring out who those people are. A lot of companies don't advertise who their in-house counsel is for many reasons. one, it's to protect their personnel. They don't want other companies knowing who's doing their legal work and potentially poaching those employees. So just finding you can't just go to a company website usually and find the contact info for in-house counsel and send them an email. So I would say those are the biggest challenges. It's just finding who they are, and then whether or not they're even receptive to talking to you. And so, fortunately, we've found some strategies where that are working for us for finding in-house counsel that is also receptive to who in the moment that we're meeting with them are actually shopping for new outside counsel.
Do you have any insight into what that consumer journey looks like from the time you make a point of contact with those prospective in-house counsel? Like, what does their research process look like? Are they going to your website looking you up? Are they going to Avo? Are they talking to other people in the industry? How do they typically go from that initial touch point or awareness through interest, desire to the action step of actually, becoming a client?
I mean, it's hard to know exactly what they're looking at. I imagine they go to our website and take a peek at it just to make sure it's there after the initial contact. Often it's meeting with them several times in person before we'll actually get any work from them. It might even be a year or two of just interacting together before before they ask us to do any work. Sometimes it'll be even longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
After our first initial contact, we're usually periodically reaching out to them, talking to them. If we go to another event where we see them in person, just meeting up with them again and saying hi, being friendly, and then just reminding them that we're available and eager to do work.
Yeah.
They may, I'm not exactly sure who they're checking, behind the scenes or what resources they're looking at. I'm sure they're looking at our website. I'm sure they're looking at any reviews or possibly even contacting people they know who have worked with us in the past.
Do you find that it's important to some of those buyer personas to know that you have experience in their industry niche in many instances?
Oh, yeah. So, and often really, I guess probably the biggest thing they're looking at, in the initial contacts, it's a lot of just interpersonal interaction. Do they like you on a personal level?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a personality they feel like they can trust? And once they get to the level where they feel like they like you, what they'll often do then is they'll ask, hey, we'd like to do an RFP, a request for proposal, where they will ask for certain documentation. Like they'll want to know, okay, who in your firm has the technical expertise that could, that would understand our technology and be able to describe it well in a patent application. So we'll have to provide them with information of personnel that we have and their educational background and their experience. They will, in that request for proposal, they may ask for writing samples, or what they'll often do is they'll even give us a test case where they'll say, okay, I do have this, this invention disclosure, and we'd like you to just prepare a sample patent application for that and see what that would look like. So that way they can kind of assess the writing quality right there in that request. They may even request, they generally won't request, contact information for other clients, because that's often confidential, and they won't get much information. I don't think they would get a lot of information from.
No, doubtful in this niche. So in targeting client prospects in those specific verticals that are our highest propensity for opportunity for Kinney and Lange, How do you tailor your outreach or positioning from vertical to vertical to kind of reinforce that expertise?
I mean, like if you're talking about different industries, you know, we'll tailor it based on the personnel that we're presenting. We have about 20 attorneys, and those attorneys have different levels of, or have different technical expertise. We've got several attorneys who are, their education is in electrical engineering, and their work experience before becoming attorneys was, in the electrical realm. So um, if we are talking with a company whose technology is electrical, we'll introduce some staff personnel. If a company is primarily focused on mechanical devices, we've got attorneys to do that. We've got attorneys that have background in the life sciences and software and chemical engineering. So we'll put a lot of our attorneys have a lot of experience doing cross industries as well, but we'll tend to put the ones who have the best backgrounds. We'll at least make them the forward face of the firm in those initial interactions, because they're the ones with the greatest expertise in that technology. So
That makes
that's
sense.
that's how, as far as custom tailoring goes, that's how we would do it in that situation.
Match the personnel to the skill set or the need. So,
Mm.
you know, Kinney and Lange obviously has a very narrow focus in IP and specialization, so to speak, into the patent law. How do you see the role of your website and any other digital marketing components in this narrow of a niche? Is it important, not important? If so, how is it, utilized, to what degree?
Yeah, so our website, we use it for I would we use it for several different ways of marketing the firm. One, as we talked in the beginning, our firm puts a heavy emphasis on training and hiring new attorneys right out of law school. So I would say a large portion of the traffic we get on our website is from law students who are looking for work. They want to know if they want to interview with our firm. And so I would say that's of the traffic that we get on our website that turns into positive results that build that builds value for our firm. I'd say it's largely on our recruiting side. So having a website that shows the culture of our firm and what our firm values is really important for recruiting. Our website also does bring in client traffic when it comes to smaller clients, solo clients, or solo inventors. So these are people who are inventing things on their own, or maybe they're just barely starting up a business and they're just trying to find a patent attorney, and they're out there doing they're just searching on the web for a law firm. That's where I would say, as far as client business comes from, our website does an okay job for that. We're not actively trying to market our firm to individual inventors. It's not that we're opposed to serving those clients. It's just that often with those clients, it's one or two patent applications, and then we don't see them. So often we might not see them again, or occasionally we'll get some of those who they do really well with their invention and it turns into a business. So we keep we continue representing them, but that's a very small proportion of our clients. And then the last, then the other big use I'd say of our website is just as a confirmation to when we are meeting with inside counsel, in-house counsel, and they want to look us up and verify us, and the website's there. The website isn't the initial point of contact with those clients, but it does allow them to get somewhat of an inside peek of the firm. It's it's, we're not a giant firm, and so we don't have uh, the same resources to put into our website as a lot of other firms.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because it's not it's not this website isn't I guess really the key marketing tool for our firm. Um, we tend to put our resources elsewhere, and so we try to keep the website generally. I don't want to say it's bare bones, but it's a lot simpler than maybe a really big firm or a firm that's really focused on, like you said, billboard advertising, where um, you know people are meeting the firm for the first time either through a billboard or through the website. Most of our clients in the end initially meet us in person for the first time before
Mm-hmm.
they hear anything about the firm.
That makes sense. I think there could be an area of opportunity in that as well down the road as the firm, if the firm, chose to pursue other segments of the niche. I am curious. I saw the books page. I saw there's a couple of what look to be really knowledgeable books that are authored by Kinney and Lange attorneys. So I just wanted to kind of dive into that for a second and talk about. So those books that were authored, are those ever incorporated at all into your marketing efforts in any way?
Yeah, when we meet with clients, we'll often take physical copies of those books to share those books with them. Um, I've we've had a few clients that we've met through those books as well. They'll go online and look for a book, and they'll buy the book, and then after looking at the book, they will, and being pleased with what they find in the books, they'll give us a call and ask for help.
Curiosity. I'm really curious here. We were talking earlier about, that in counsel outreach, and I described something called account-based marketing, which is basically defining a list of the exact contacts, the exact people that you would like to capture as a client, and then reaching out to those individuals directly. Have you ever sent a book to somebody that was a prospective client as a cold outreach technique to try to get the phone call meeting or face-to-face visit?
Um, I mean, me personally, I have not. Has our firm done that in the past? I'm not sure if we have. Maybe. Um,
I think it's an idea worth pursuing. I mean, I know my assistant. The one thing that's always going to make it to my desk is an Amazon package. No questions asked. So
yeah,
if,
yeah,
if you sent me an Amazon book and an Amazon package, or any package for that matter, and it had a note in there, that would be a really direct but creative way to for sure make it to my desk. Now I'm not an attorney by any means, but
right,
I'm somebody with a lot of salespeople calling me and trying to contact me on a daily basis. Uh,
right.
so
And
that's an interesting, might be an interesting outreach tactic or a good follow up tactic for people that you meet in the face to face events and you get business cards and things to then send as a follow up later on.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if earlier I mentioned that one of the difficulties with marketing to in-house attorneys is sometimes that information is not finding who is the in-house attorney, what their contact information is to be a bit of a challenge unless you've got an insider to tell you, because often that information isn't publicly listed on a company's website, or isn't just marketed online. So, but if you can get a business card of the person, um, or yeah, you get an initial meeting that's really short, and you do get their contact info, that would be a good way to follow up. Would be, I think, sending them the book. Now, some of these books are really thick and big, so and they're textbooks.
Yeah.
They're big books, so whether they actually crack them open and read them, it might be another question, because
I I think
they
it's,
also read like textbooks. So
yeah. Well, it may end up on a bookshelf behind their desk, but I think
but
it
it's there with your name, and so at some point they may go, oh hey, let's contact the people who wrote the book on the subject. So
Well, yeah, and it could, at the very least, stimulate interest or desire, you know. So I think that, y'all are doing some great work. You're doing some great things. I like the B2B outreach that you're doing. This has been a really good discussion, Boyd. Tell our listeners and viewers, where could they find out more about Kinney and Lange online?
Yeah, so online we're at www.kinney.com. That's Kinney. Yeah, we're here in Minneapolis, but we do provide services throughout the United States. We also have partnerships worldwide. So we if you're looking to file outside the U.S., we also have the ability to do that as well. So
And Boyd, where is the firm located again, physically?
we're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yeah.
Minneapolis, Midwest, providing international services. It's impressive. And
Mhm.
congrats to the firm. You've done really well. And appreciate you being on the show today, Boyd.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.